Hello and very good evening to you all. I am Shankar Subra Ghosh, HOD of Electrical Engineering Department and coordinator of this webinar session. On behalf of the IMPS College of Engineering and Technology, Malda, West Bengal, India, I welcome you all in today's webinar on recent trends in concrete technology. Here I want to take the opportunity to welcome our today's honorable speaker, Dr. Suman Saha, who is the Assistant Professor of Civil Engineering Department of National Institute of Technology, Calicut, India. Sir, we are very thankful to you as you have accepted our invitation to present this webinar. Participants, we will shortly start this session, but before going to start this session, I would like to mention the guidelines to be followed by the participants during the webinar. First of all, please kindly keep mute your microphones to ensure that there is no background noise during the webinar. Also, please never click on the present now option during this session, as this present now option is only for the honorable speaker. In case you accidentally exit from the meeting, you can again click the meeting link and click the rejoin button to join the session. Also, please never mute our honorable speaker. And lastly, do not type anything unnecessarily on the chat box. This chat box you can use at the end of the session to raise your queries or questions during the question answer session only. And note that at the end of the session, we'll share the attendance or feedback form on the chat box. Please do not forget to fill out the same for the successful generation of the e-certificate, which you will get in your email ID, which you will provide in the attendance form within 7 working days. Now I would like to request our respected principal, sir, to say a few words. After that, we will start our today's session. Thank you. Over to you, Principal sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Ghosh. And hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you all. And let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Sudipto Das, Principal of IMPS College of Engineering and Technology. And I am welcoming you all on behalf of my college to the session number 14 of the webinar series 2020 conducted by IMPS College of Engineering and Technology, West Bengal, India. And likewise, actually the participants have seen our trend here that we keep on trying to help the research community. We keep on trying to help the UG students, PG students. Even we have focused while organizing the webinar series in selection of the topics so that it can help the community of faculty also. So we have already conducted different sessions, different webinars for ECE departments, for electrical engineering departments, also for computer science departments. But today is the first day it is going to be organized actually for civil engineering department, and the topic is a huge demandable that relates to the recent trends in concrete technology, a core civil engineering topic. So I hope the session will be a very nice one, very knowledgeable, very informative. So before starting the session, let me introduce to you our honorable speaker, and really it's my great pleasure to introduce him. He is Dr. Suman Saha from National Institute of Technology, Calicut. And presently he is working there as assistant professor in the Department of Civil Engineering. And before joining to National Institute of Calicut, he worked as a researcher at Institute for Sustainability and Innovation in Structural Engineering. In short form, we called it ISISE at University of Minho, that is in Portugal. And Dr. Saha completed his academic careers. He earned his BE degree from Jadavpur University. He earned his MTech degree as well as PhD degree from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka. And his present research area includes alternative construction materials towards sustainability and advancement in concrete technology. And I just forgot to mention that apart from this attractive academic career, he has also experience in actually in a company that is named Afcon Infrastructure Limited in Chennai. He worked there in major metro rail projects. And Dr. Saha has till date 7 journal articles, 3 book chapters, and 10 conference papers to his credit. So it's a nice pleasure for us that today he is with us to share his thoughts on this particular topic, recent trends in concrete technology. And definitely, I will hope surely that it will help the UG, PG as well as PhD research scholars and also the faculty members. So hopefully, as our coordinator shared the guidelines with you, so I know that participants will be very cooperative. There is no doubt about that. And it is going to be a nice session actually. And so already it's 6 p.m. It's crossed. So just we are going to start the session. So let me welcome Dr. Suman Saha to present his PPT. Welcome you, sir, and you may start the presentation now.
Yeah, am I audible there?
Yes, you can hear
Okay. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I thank Professor Sudipta Das and Dr. Sankar Suprabose for their kind words about me. And again, thank you for inviting me to share little knowledge, whatever I have having with the audience. I am quite happy to see the number of audience are available in this present webinar. And one more person I want to thank just Mr. Praval Das. I think Professor Sudipta Das knows him very well for communicating this about this webinar. Anyway, before starting, it's immense pleasure for me to share something about recent trends in concrete technology. Let me share the presentation. 1 minute. Yeah, my slides are visible to the audience.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, your slides are visible, sir.
okay. I hope all the audience are background of civil engineering, so I don't think so. My small presentation will not be very difficult to understand. But before starting this topic directly to recent trend in concrete technology, I want to say like these are not the ultimate recent trend. Maybe few more areas are also there. Please do explore all those areas also. Don't be fixed with this whatever I have mentioned in my PPT only. If you have any query, you can ask the question in chat box, and at the end I have shared my mail ID. You can contact me directly at any time. So before starting, we all know that our country is a developing nation. So we need a lot of development of infrastructure, even like road, building, hospitals, schools, colleges, stadium. To cope up with this infrastructural development, construction field is becoming the fastest growing industry worldwide. So as it is growing fastest, so we know all the concrete is the main construction material to be used worldwide. So when the industry itself growing fastly, then the demand of concrete is getting high and high and higher. So again, that leads to this concrete is the second largest consumed material by the human mankind, next to the water. So it denotes why we need advancement in that particular material. We I will make some like why we need to think about the research of concrete technology, why we need to make this material like with the desired properties, as well as it should be cheap, as well as we should protect our environment as well. Just because of all of us knows that everyone claims that construction industry, even if you are nearby any construction site, even you feel also this construction sites or construction industry pollutes the environment in a detailed manner. So how we can like minimize the pollution level created by the construction industry? Specifically, my concentration will be there, depending on the material, particularly on concrete. So, and now to make only this concrete is not only the construction material, so several things are there. Due to that, we need to have like lot of natural resource procurement to produce the cement, even aggregates. All are the natural resources. If we consume totally in a high demand, it may not be available in coming days or in future days. Then we will face a lot of problem to create concrete with the desired properties. As I mentioned already, this industry has already, people claim that we pollute the environment significantly, but believe me, we pollute, but not that much. And we are changing the scenario by finding alternative materials for the concrete or for other purposes, so that we can just minimize the pollution level. Even we can conserve the natural resources as well as for the future time. And as we know, like as today we need, maybe if we see point from the point of view any institute, we may have now 60 student of class 10, so we may need a small classroom. But in coming 10 years or 5 years, it may increase the student strength to the 100 or 120. In that case, we need a larger classroom. So we need, our requirement keep on changing. So for that, we need to develop our infrastructure properly to accommodate all such desire. So due to that changes also, we need to demolish the old buildings who has already served their life to us and create the new one. As a result, if you see, if all those things we demolish, we create a lot of waste. Again, we consume a lot of new materials also. So to very specifically, I can say that we can make we can find alternative materials to conserve the natural resources as it is for the future upcoming generation, and we can minimize the waste generation, and or we can recycle this waste to be used in construction field effectively in a different field. So if we can do effectively, efficiently to that, we can, I think we can manage a lot of things in the world. But we have our own Bureau of Indian Standard. Even in if you see in the British Indian Standard also there, if you go to US, they have their own standard. So before using any material, we have to follow the guidelines given by those standards. Specifically, we are in India, we should follow BIS strictly, whatever they have given the guidelines. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to convince normal people, common people, that you can use this material as an alternative. That difficulties is there. I will come in, I will discuss in detail and later. So in the concrete industry, several topics are there to do like research to make effective advancement in that. I have mentioned only 4 parts: building materials, concrete technology, project management, and construction technologies, etc. You have n number of sectors like finishing, plumbing, electricity fixing. So these 4 are not the ultimate like part of the construction industry to get to do the advancement. But today's talk, we will talk only concrete technology, how concrete is evolving, how concrete, different type of concretes come into the picture to go to fulfill our wishes, our desire, our requirement. So I have made a list about the different type of concretes which are for like getting adopted nowadays very well enough. But again, I am saying you, I am just keep on reminding you, these are the not, this is not the ultimate list. So many type of concretes are there, and those type of concrete have their specific purpose to be if to in use. So I just request you, if you search in Google itself, you will get n number of concretes, but I will just I have made a list, and among all the concrete, we will talk in details about geopolymer concrete, and I will tell you why it is very special uh, to be to be an alternative concrete for future days. First, I will describe few words about this type of concretes, like high performance concrete, self compacting concrete, fiber reinforced concrete, recycled aggregate concrete, high volume fly ash concrete, reactive powder concrete, self-healing concrete, and at the end, geopolymer in details. By the name itself, I feel as you are all from background of civil engineering, you can understand what specific like characteristics are there for this particular concrete. Just because of if we talk about high performance of concrete, what is that? Like it itself saying that concrete should perform high. What does it mean? In normal concrete, usually what we do, we use OPC, and we get some finite, we use fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, water admixture, different thing. But normal OPC strength, maybe maximum we can design the mixed design concrete up to M50 or M60. But when it is come into the terms of high performance concrete, performance is not only the compressive strength, even though we know the compressive strength is the main characteristics of the concrete, but along with that, we should have a proper workability as from the starting of the mixing to the placing to the concrete. If like while concreting, when it's a large construction project, when we are going to cast for a like suppose 100 cubic meter concrete, if it is getting set in between within a short span of time, then it will be very difficult to use that type of concrete. Even I told you this higher compressive strength for this type of concrete, we can expect more than 60 MPa strength after 28 days, but not minimum 60 MPa is the minimum, higher can be the maximum, more and more a maximum. One more type of concrete you can hear about is ultra high performance concrete. In that case, in that type of concrete, this compressive strength level is more than you can say 100 MPa, and the better durability properties should be there. Just because today you are if you are constructing a stadium, it should sustain for a long time, at least for 100 years. If this concrete doesn't purpose that serve, and it is like cannot withstand the aggressive environment or normal environment wherever you are constructing, then this type of concrete will be no use. At the end of, we are at loss, so we have to reconstruct again. So just in summary, if you say high performance concrete or ultra high performance concrete, all the three parameters like workability, from starting to workability to durability, you have to have a better results. Next, self-compacting concrete. As you know, I am not expert in the design part, but if you have any idea about the design, sometime we have to provide like lot of reinforcement. If that congestion of reinforcement is there, it will be very difficult to provide the proper vibration to compact the concrete, or it should get the proper strength. For that type of section, if you want to cast, nowadays self-compacting concrete is very famous and very familiar nowadays. Even all the industries are trying to use this concrete, introducing admixture like proper doses of chemical admixtures, finer materials, so that without any vibration it can be like the concrete section should be casted with the concrete, and it will be compacted by its own weight without any segregation, without any water like evaporation. So it will be very important type of concrete for the largely highly congested reinforcement section. If you see here one photo, I have shown how the self-compacting concrete, it's like one slump cone. If you put the concrete and lift the slump cone, the concrete will flow out on its own. without any, you can see there is no segregation or no water separation from the concrete, so it can be said the cohesive. So at the end we need to have at least the compressive strength, which is main characteristics of the concrete. So it's always very much important to notice whether this concrete is getting compacted properly or not by its own way. So if it is not getting, you may get like a different kind of problem when you remove the formwork, some bulging, or some places it will be voids. So it will be created a very much problem later on to gain the strength, and as well as the durability aspects also. Next is fiber reinforced concrete. Why it is coming very familiar, very famous in the concrete construction, just because we know concrete is always perform better in compressive strength, but when we need to apply little tensile strength, we need to we feel more tensile strength should be there, or flexural strength should be there for the concrete. What we introduce discrete fibers. It may be steel, it may be polypropylene, it may be like natural fibers, but this fiber, when you introduce this fiber is randomly oriented to the concrete mix, and it's try to arrest the crack. What it leads, when you arrest the cracks, that means you will try to make the concrete to be in position, and the outsider ingredients like water or deteriorating agent should not penetrate the concrete. If they are not getting penetrated to the concrete, it will serve a longer time. So again, these properties of this fiber reinforced concrete, you can it depends on different type of fibers, and its geometry is like I think all of you know aspect ratio. It's a very important parameter for a fiber reinforced concrete. Just aspect ratio is nothing but length of the fiber divided by the diameter of fiber. So, and distribution orientation of the fibers in the concrete mix, it's justifying this thing is a very difficult, but nowadays present is a lot of numerical modeling to understand how it get distributed, how it get oriented, how it's arresting the angle of orientation. A lot of research is going on. If you search papers in internet, you will get in number of papers. So it's a promising area to do research. You can see here, if you, it's after testing, this specimen is after testing. When we are doing that flexural strength, you just type that for test flexural state of fiber reinforced concrete, you will get the detailed procedure of the test. To, if it is the normal concrete, it will be easily crackable, but due to the fiber, it will, that load carrying capacity will be increased. As a result, total overall structural integrity of the concrete structure will get increased, and it will give a better service to us. Next, recycle aggregate concrete. It's nothing but you can always explain that recycle aggregate. What is it? We need to earlier only I told we need to preserve our natural resources. If we keep on using all the natural resources to produce concrete, so at the end, after some time, we may not get natural aggregates to produce the concrete. So, and along with that, we are generating a lot of concrete demolition waste from due to various reasons. I told few reasons earlier also. Some buildings are there, some concrete sections are there, they already served their life. It is now need to be demolished. Those type of structure, after demolition, if we can use this waste concrete part as aggregate, maybe as fine aggregate, maybe as coarse aggregate, then also we can make a lot of we can save a lot of natural resources. So again, in that aspects also, a lot of drawbacks are there to use recycle aggregate effectively to get the desired properties. So in numbers of papers are there again, and even I am having so many few papers, not so many, that's a very limited, but few papers are there on recycle aggregate concrete also. If you have interest anything, you can contact me about this type of concrete or mortar. Next, high volume fly ash concrete. As we, our electricity, main source of our electricity is thermal power plant, and as we know, the fly ash is the output material from the thermal power plant. So this fly ash, if we are not going to use, we have to dump it in some places. And as fly ash is the very fine particles, it can it can be it can travel through air, and it can create a lot of problem to the people. So if we can use this fly ash, part of this fly ash we can use as a replacement of cement, so it will be very much useful, and we can save the land where to dump this fly ash. So usually fly ash, if you see nowadays, we are getting PPC, Portland Pozzolana cement. There is a two type of cement, this type two type of PPC. One is fly ash based, one is calcine clay based. But usually in the market, fly ash based PPC is available, and it's a well used cement now. If you see nowadays, people are avoiding to use OPC, but in that PPC, Indian standard guidelines says more than 35% fly ash we cannot use. For that, when we are crossing 50 to 60% replacement, so we can say it's the volume of fly ash is quite high, but again subjected to all the desired properties we should achieve. Just because of, if we use 80% of fly ash and we are aiming for 30 MPa concrete, what we are gaining at the end of 20 days 10 MPa, it's no use. So by doing experimental research, we can finalize this percentage of fly ash at the end, how much percentage of fly ash we can use. Just because places to places, properties of fly ash, chemical composition of fly ash, it varies, just because all the thermal power plant are not using similar coal to produce the electricity. So as the the main material is source material is getting changed, output is also getting changed. So everywhere it will be changed. Maybe in Kerala, I can use 60%, but maybe in West Bengal we can use 70% also for 30 MPa concrete or any other thing. And as fly ash is having finer material, it will provide better workability. And cement, when the cement quantity is getting reduced, always heat of hydration also will be low. As a result, we can avoid this water evaporation due to the heat of hydration. We may not have cracks on the early time, and it can serve a better durability properties. And again, durability properties, what you can say, you can check performance against the acidic environment, alkaline environment, or in the sea water, salt water. So a lot of tests are there, and even it is explained in the different Indian guidelines. We can follow and we can determine their properties. Next is reactive powder concrete. It can be said as ultra high performance concrete. What I told earlier, you can see its compressive strength range is 100 to 200 MPa. But for that, to achieving the 100 to 200 MPa concrete, if you want to cast one cube, we should have a finer material properly compacted, just because there should not be any voids, or there should not be any connection of voids to provide the cracks. So to make it super compacted, to gain the high strength, usually quartz powder, silica fume are used. Even fly ash also getting used, GGBS also is getting used. And as when we are incorporating this material, we are trying to reduce the coarse aggregate concrete. If you say, I think very minimum quantity of coarse aggregate is there in the reactive powder concrete. It's now emerging area to do research, or to apply in our daily life, but it has a lot of drawbacks. We have to work on that, and we have to make it to use effectively. Next is self-filling concrete. It is name itself telling that the concrete heals selfly. How it will work, you can search at this as a bacterial concrete also. Sometimes we introduce bacteria, and in the hardened concrete structure, what they will do, they will react with the hydrated product, and they will create some carbonate or some structure chemical substance to fill the cracks wherever voids are there, or wherever cracks is generated. They will fill with those products. So due to that only, it is saying that it is already, these cracks are getting healed by its own due to the presence of the bacteria. So usually bacillus bacteria are used as of now. I don't have a knowledge about other bacteria. It may have, we have it, we need to search. So you can see one photos are there. I can show you here one. If you see, you see the crack here. But as the bacteria is available, it started reacting with the hydrated products, and you can see it has filled throughout the cracks. Even when it started the reacting, maybe cracks increased a little bit, but it also filled. So as when cracks are getting filled, these outsider ions, positive ions or negative ions, it will not ingress to the concrete and it will not deteriorate its properties. So as a result, it will be better durable concrete. And next, not last, but next, geopolymer concrete. It's the environmental form concrete. And to produce this geopolymer concrete, we usually use industry byproduct materials as the primary materials. We will discuss in details about the geopolymer concrete, because to produce a geopolymer concrete or geopolymer concrete, you can say we are not going to use a single percentage of OPC. So it's a OPC free concrete. We are going to use industry byproduct materials, which are we'll discuss it which are rich in silica and alumina, specifically fly ash, GGBS. They are fly ash is in the byproduct material by the thermal power plant, GGBS by steel plant. Even silica fume also we can use, but silica fume is a bit costly. So whenever we are talking about the cost of concrete also, we should not go beyond our limitation. If the concrete is coming more costly, people are not use, it should be like lesser than OPC concrete, then only people will show interest to use your concrete. So as I told, geopolymer, like it's only geopolymer is are getting to use as binder in lieu of OPC in the concrete. So why not OPC concrete? I have already mentioned to produce the OPC, we need a lot of natural resources and energy also. And due to that, we may face shortage of natural resources in future. And even as of the statistics, 5 to 8% total carbon dioxide emission is done by only production and consumption by OPC. And if you see, we are the developing nation, we have a huge population also. For that, we are second largest cement producer, and also the consumption wise also we are the second next to China. Even though it is account for 6.7% to the world cement output, but we are the second. And if you check the statistic, you will get we are far away from the basic per capita demand of per capita consumption of the cement. If you see the worldwide, it is 500 kg, around 500 kg per capita per person, the cement consumption. But in India, it is only 195 kg. So we are so away, so far, but still we are the second producer and second consumer. So if you see the details, this is the production of cement in India for the year of 2019. We have produced like 337.32 and we used 328 million tons. It's all the units are million tons. So in the for the financial year of 20, it is expected we will produce 421 million ton of cement, and we are going to use around 402 or 405 million tons. You can see by the year passes, time passes, we are producing cement is also more, and we are consuming it also more. So if we can reduce the consumption of the cement by establishing alternative material, then it will be better. We can indirectly or directly we can reduce this carbon dioxide emission, we can protect the natural resources, whatever is required to produce the cement. Even most importantly, energy, how much energy we are employing to produce cement, that can be saved. I know I feel everyone knows about the how to produce the production process of the OPC in industry. So what is the geopolymer? Geopolymer is nothing but it's the alternative binder material. It has been established by Professor Davidovits. He is specialized in the chemistry background in the year of 1978, but till today it is not getting used effectively by us. still keep on doing research to make it like easily available, this concrete, to the society, or it can be used. I will show you the how tremendously research is increasing on this particular geopolymer concrete. It's nothing but it will, again I'm telling, it is a resultant product from the source material, which is very rich in silica and alumina, like fly ash and GGBS. And this fly ash and GGBS has to have it will react with water, but it is very slow. That's why we usually call as a pozzolan material those materials also. But if we provide, instead of water, a highly alkaline solution, it will react and it will create, it will cement. When water comes into the cement particle, it will start reacting and it will form the CSH and it will get hardened. Like that, if you have a alkaline solution, if you pour in fly ash or GGBS, it will also start reacting, it will form some CLH structures and it will get hard like cement. That's why people are started thinking, people are doing research to establish geopolymer as alternative for the cement. But already it is established, but still a lot of difficulties are there to use effectively. That's why research is still going on. This, after the reaction, you can see this type of bond. It's when cement reacts with water, actually CSA gel is getting produced. But when it is like geopolymer, it's silica alumina rich material reacts with the alkali solution, it will create this SiOAl bond. It's called as CLH structure or CLH bonds. It's the like nomenclature, you can say, chemically represented by the CLH bonds. I will show you how this is the schematic reaction. This is the fly ash or GGBS, like silica alumina rich material. That's why it's written as N. And this hydroxyl ion and H2O we will get from this alkaline solution, and it will first form silicate and aluminate, and this silicate aluminate react together to generate this bond and provide the strength as like cement. I can show you this is different kind of CLH structure based on the silica and alumina ratio in the source material. Like fly ash GGBS, if you procure from Karnataka and if you procure from West Bengal, the properties or the content of silica or alumina will be different. So if we get to know the silica and alumina ratio in the source material, we can tell that which type of CLH structure will be formed. And when it is greater than 3, we can see it's a n number of series will create the CLH structure, and it will, a polymeric chain will create as a continuous structure. I'll show you the detailed process of this geopolymerization, how it works. And this is the in words, but I will show you. Professor Daxon has established this model. You can see this alumina silicate source. It's nothing but alumina silica rich material. When we are provide this alkaline solution, this alumina silicate material dissolved and form the aluminate silicate. Then it started reacting to each other and reduces water, and then gelation or coagulation start to formate this CLH structure. Then later on they will keep on reacting each other and reorganize themselves, and then at the end it will create the polymeric chain and it get hardened like cement, like normal cement, how it is getting hardened by forming of calcium silicate hydrate. Some literature you can say here it will say like sodium aluminate silicate hydrate, but I think it is not better to say sodium aluminate silicate hydrate, just because it's not a hydrated product. It's a product of different chemical reaction, and it's at the end it will create the polymeric chain and to help to harden the concrete. So at the end, what are the constituents of geopolymer concrete? Then we are, firstly, source material is very important. Silica alumina rich source material. I have given few example of those: fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, and alkaline liquid. This is very much important part of geopolymer concrete. Usually, if you see in the literature, most of the literature present days are using combination of sodium hydroxide or sodium silicate, just because of it's easily available and cost wise also less. You can use potassium hydroxide, potassium silicate also, or any hydroxide silicate solution. Even though you will get some literature, you may get they are only using only hydroxide, just because of, if you see the entire process, we need basically hydroxyl ion. So it will start make these aluminum silicate sources to dissolve to form the aluminate and silicate. So this combination of sodium hydroxide and sodium silicate are found best suitable alkaline liquid to form this OH minus ion along with the water to react with the source material to form the CLH structure and helping to gain strength. So what are the main parameters if we want to check about the properties of the concrete? Type of source material. Again, I'm repeating the same word. Source materials properties are getting changed even if you travel 10 kilometer or 5 kilometer itself. So it's depending on the source material. So before starting the work on geopolymer concrete, we should characterize the source material properly, how it, what is the chemical composition, how it reacts with the alkaline solution, everything, each and every details about the source material is required before incorporating or before producing the geopolymer concrete. And as I told you this, so alkaline liquid means that should we have some concentration, and like it's not water, so we have to prepare this hydroxide solution. And as I have told you, the combination of sodium silicate and sodium hydroxide is the best suitable combination to be used as the alkaline liquid. For that, we need to prepare this solution. Usually most of the literature will suggest to prepare the combination of this solution before 24 hours to use. Like if we are going to cast concrete tomorrow, so today itself this solution has to be prepared. For better understanding, if you prepare hydroxide solution, you try, lot of heats are getting generated. So when we are going to prepare with the desired concentration of hydroxide solution, we need to make it cool down. Then we will incorporate silicate with our designed ratio. Then we'll mix it up properly and we'll keep it for 24 hours before you to produce geopolymer concrete. And curing regime is the one of the added advantage, you can say. In OPC concrete, we need to have moist curing for 28 days, so it will give you the highest strength. But geopolymer concrete, sometimes it comes as a alkali activated concrete also. There is a long debate, geopolymer concrete versus alkali activated concrete. So I am not going to that debate, but again, this is also a very hot topic to do research. What I want to mention actually about the curing region, without any moist curing, it can be kept in the ambient temperature. In air curing, it can gain strength. So if we have no need of water to cure the concrete, so we can save water also. Even this geopolymer concrete, if we provide little bit high temperature heat to this concrete, it will perform better with respect to compressive strength. Therefore, in the summer season, we are facing lot of high temperature. In that time, maybe it will show better and higher strength. And addition of admixture also, it may create the differentiate the properties. If we use superplastic as a more, it may give a more higher workable concrete, but it may show adverse effect on strength. But all are subjected to check in the laboratory scale, and at the end we need to implement at the real scale to check whether whatever we have observed in laboratory scale, where it is getting similar result in the real field. That's why prototype model is very much required. I will share some experimental observation, very basic test on geopolymer, not on concrete, but I told earlier only we have a lot of guidelines by the Indian standard. So to establish geopolymer as alternative binder material, we should have a proper idea about how it acts, how it reacts, what are the setting time about. Like for cement, what we do, we test for standard consistency, initial setting time, final setting time, then we use standard sand to determine the compressive strength for the gradation. Here also I have done a lot of some work on that to determine standard consistency, setting time, and compressive strength. I will show this wonderful result. You will get amazed with the result, but it's already done. We have to move for the advanced results. So I will show you two different type of geopolymer. One is fly ash based geopolymer, one is slag based geopolymer. In fly ash based geopolymer, the source material is class F fly ash. All you know that we have two types of fly ash as per a ASTM classification, that is class F and class C. Class F, literally we have less content of calcium oxide, and class C we have more content of calcium oxide. In a slag based geopolymer we have used GGBS from the stream steel plant, but when I conducted all this experimental work, fly ash was almost free of cost. Only the transportation cost has to be bear with us. But nowadays, fly ash also are getting sold in a minimal price, but till it is a very minimal. But slag is already available in the packet. You can get it from the market. So I'm telling you, we have done to determine this standard consistency and compressive strength. All you know how to do all this experiment based on Indian standard line 4031. Several parts are there. That is specifically for OPC. Here we have done only fly ash based geopolymer paste. So how is the result? If you see the standard consistency, how we used to determine the standard consistency, we use the Vicat apparatus. I hope everyone knows the procedure to conduct the standard consistency test. So if you see, we have very different sodium hydroxide solution concentration. It's 6 molar to 16 molar. And in the alkaline liquid, we have varied the ratio of silicate and hydroxide from 1 to 2. So these two parameters are related to alkaline liquid. So from this only you can get to know that alkaline liquid is very important, like have very important role to provide you better properties in the geopolymer concrete. You see, we had OPC 53 grade of concrete where we are getting 31% standard consistency. For the geopolymer paste, we are getting 38 to 42%. These values are only for fly ash based geopolymer. I will show you slag based also. So based on this standard consistency value, I have taken this formula to determine the water required to produce the paste sample to determine initial setting time and final setting time. You can see the initial setting time and final setting time. Here, if you see for the cement OPC, it's like we know it should be more than half an hour and final setting time less than 10 hours. In that case, fly ash based geopolymer has a little drawback that it takes much more time to set in ambient temperature. If you provide heat, or if you put the samples in 60-degree temperature for a half an hour or 24 hours, it will give you a better and better results. But again, we should avoid to provide the heat. Just because of to provide the required heat, we need to consume more energy. But again, we are also against to use energy more. We can concentrate to use less energy to protect our environment also. And the compressive strength, you can see we have achieved 50.4 MPa at 28 days. That two samples are cast and it has been kept in the ambient temperature, no moist curing, no heat curing. So in that itself, the paste, you can see that this sample is after testing. For the paste itself, it is showing 50.4, but for 53 MPa concrete cement, I will go for the mortar. You will get better understanding. Here also, if you see mortar, we are getting 35 without any moist curing and heat curing. So in details, we can say that we can create with ambient temperature 33 grade of concrete, but if you provide a little like on the very beginning time little heat, it will shoot up to 60 or 70 MP at the end of 28 days. Just because of when we are providing the heat, this geopolymeric reaction, whatever the chemical reaction are occurring, that will occur at the initial stage. That maybe you can observe that maximum strength can gain at the early stage itself, 3 or 7 days. Maybe the very minimal increment will be there at the later duration. So slag based geopolymer, again, if you see for fly ash based geopolymer, it was 38 to 42%. Here it is shoot up to 40 to 44%. But again, see, the fly-ash based geopolymer was taking more time to set initially on final setting time. Entirely opposite characteristics we got for the slag-based paste. You can slag-based geopolymer paste. You can see initial setting time are getting less than 20 minutes and final setting time less than 40. So it's very difficult to use in the real field. Within 40 minutes you may not be that our worker may not be able to cast the entire concrete section with the geopolymer concrete. So again, this signifies that we cannot use as it is with this 100% slag. So what we have done, first I will show you the compressive strength of paste and mortar. Here there we have seen 50 MPa, here 94 MPa, almost double strength we are getting in the slag. Why we are getting double strength? The slag has having more calcium content, chemical composition wise, and even it is like more reactive than pozzolanic reactivity of the slag is better than fly ash. If you add water also, the slag may react slowly, but fly ash will take in more time than slag to react. So for mortar itself also we have received 92 MPa. Can you imagine at the age of 28 days without any curing, we are getting 92 MPa mortar thing. If we provide aggregate, at least we can get 70 MPa concrete. But the problem is setting time. It will set immediately. So what we need to do, we have to delay the setting time for the slag, or we have to minimize the setting time required for the fly-ash-based geopolymer. For that, we have just tried to mix up these two material. Initially, our aim was there to use fly ash completely, just because of fly ash is cheaper than slag. So we try to keep fly ash quantity is more and slag is very little amount we can introduce, and we can whether we can reduce this setting time or this slab flies based geopolymer or achieve the higher strength. That result also is showing very much promising result. You can see we have incorporated 10 to 50% GGBS into the fly ash based geopolymer, and you can see when it is 100% fly ash, it is showing initial setting time 500, near about less than 500 minutes. It drastically down to the less around 100 minutes. Around 90%, 70 to 90% minimization is there in say initial setting time as well as final setting time. So what we can do, we can use 90% fly ash and 10% GGBS. Even if you see as much as we can, if we are using 50-50, it is around like 40 to 45 minutes initial setting time and 100 to 200 minutes for final setting time. 50-50 also we can go, but when we are using incorporating more slag, there will be a debate whether we can call it is a geopolymer or some other than geopolymerization, other reaction also getting occurred, just because of calcium oxide. High quantity of calcium oxide also will start reacting with the available water, and it will start forming the calcium silicate hydride along with the CLH structure when we are using more GGBS. So with those reaction, parallelly this reaction also is happening. That's why it may give you better strength. Compressive strength also I have shown you about for 28 days. You can see 78 MPa we are getting, but we have done the test for 56 days also. At the end of 56 days, we have only seen 78.4 MPa. You can see the increment of the strength is very minimal when we are using the 50% GGBS for in the fly ash based geopolymer. We are incorporating 50-50. So what we can say, when it is getting 28 days strength, we can conclude that after 28 days that increment in the strength will be very minimal, and all these strengths are achieved with ambient temperature curing. If you provide heat, this 78 MPa may shoot off to 100 MPa and more than 100 MPa. And you can so we have taken samples from the failure plane of the cubes, and we have tried to analyze the microstructure of the fly ash based on slag based geopolymer, how it forms the thing using the same. You can see for the slag based geopolymer, it is like plain and continuous dense structure is there. And even if you see the white color of patch, those can be like say calcium silicate hydrate. As if you see more white patches, that means it's a calcium silicate hydrates are produced more by the reaction. Here itself you can see it's not continuous, but it's slow reaction, so it will take much more time to give this type of continuous structure. As a result, the slag based geopolymer is providing better strength than fly based geopolymer. Then at the end, I told you, as of now, I have till 2010 or 2013 how the research is getting increased on geopolymer. You can see earlier it started with 1978 with the Professor David Ovitz in his lab. Now, if you see more or less all the places it has been started. But we have another advantage. We have a better environmental condition than European countries or US countries. Their temperature is not that much high, so we can utilize this material in our country very well. But again, I will point out some issues where we need more discussion, more research to address the problem why we are not able to use this. See, I told you this scientific papers are getting published in the year of 2013. You can see where it is started in the 1991, only one or two paper. Now you can see each and every year it is the value of 2013. Can you imagine about 2020? It may shoot up 1,000 papers. It's getting published. All more or less all the materials laboratory, civil construction materials laboratory, one another person is working on geopolymer to make it viable to use. So what are the applications of the geopolymer concrete? As of now, where we can use, we cannot use it for the life, but we can use precast concrete when we can like cast the samples and we can keep it for a few like few hours or few days, and readily we can use. But again, I'm telling you, research is going on to use in the structural elements, how to cast the sample, how to handle the concrete, how to address all such things. Just because of compressive strength is not a alone single criteria to adopt the concrete. So many parameters are there, but based on the compressive strength, it already qualifies. Even if you go a lot of literature, it will have better durability properties. It will be showing less sinkage as well. You can see like all the properties are providing just because of the difficulty handling, specifically handling, and the setting problem with the fly ash based, and the slag based is also its early setting, so we cannot use. And when we can use the byproduct material which are labeled as waste material, they are throwing, they are dumping. When you have those type of material, industry people, they try to throw wherever they get the places. It may not be suitable for the common people residing surrounding. So all such materials, if we can use, then we can remove the tag as waste material. We can make them as a useful material. We can use it for the better purpose. As of now, for the research purpose, if you see, this is available, I think, in their website. University of Queensland, one building is there. They have just particularly used this geopolymer concrete to cast a particular one beam column junctions, and I am happy to say that this building is serving till today, till date, and it is serving better. And they have done all the tests also on the prototype material, model they have created in the laboratory. They have tested and they have shared the results. One more, if you see this airport, Brisbane West Welcome Airport, one runway they have created with the geopolymer concrete. It is also, according to them, it is also showing better performance. And these are the advantage, all the points I feel I have already told several times in the earlier presentations, like it will be reducing the carbon footprint. How? Just because if we are able to reduce the OPC consumption automatically 6 to 7%, where it is there carbon like emission by the construction industry, at least 50% we can reduce. And the byproduct materials are getting used not as waste material but as useful materials. By that we can protect also the lot of dumping sites also, where people are dumping like unscientifically, which may cause a lot of diseases to the human being. So we can protect the lands also. And again, I'm telling you, property wise, they are showing better results, but we need to focus more to use in a practical, in real field. So what are the disadvantage? Source materials are varied with respect to location. That what does it mean? Today I did research here at Karnataka. This result may not be suitable in your place, like in Malda, Kolkata, and West Bengal, or even you are conducting research in Malda, but results in Kolkata itself, main city itself, it may be so different. Even if you go further north, like Darjeeling, that side also, it may so different result. So you cannot make, okay, this type of result only will get, this type of properties only will get. It was always when the location is getting changed, you have to thoroughly check the properties before making such conclusions. And alkaline solution, like alkaline liquid, I told you it's a very important part in the geopolymer concrete. That is also a very important thing based on the temperature, just because of when we are in the market, sodium silicate you can get in the liquid form, but the sodium hydroxide solution or potassium hydroxide, you will get solids, and it has to be dissolved with the distilled water to produce the sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide solution. These solid particles dissolve to water. Again, it is like temperature variant. If it is low temperature, it will take much more time to dissolve and to form the solution. And if it is high temperature also, it will dissolve fast. But again, when it is dissolved fast, it will create a lot of heat. So we need to be very careful to handle these chemicals. I think the main drawbacks of this geopolymer or alkali-activated concrete is the handling the chemicals. We are unable to address these chemicals. Even we don't have a lot of shortage of guidelines and standards. As of today's date, people are trying to establish some standards and all, but again, these 2 points makes a very difficult level to frame such guidelines. Today I can such guidelines based on, I can establish some guidelines based on my observation in the laboratory, but again it may not work for the different places or different countries. So for that only we need to have a very much restricted experimental setup, like temperature variation to be constant, humidity should be constant, even curing also to be provided, maintain. Again, we have to like a lot of work we have to do to frame such guidelines, but I am happy to say that a lot of work is going on. I hope very soon we'll get the guidelines and standards. And lack of awareness, if you ask someone in the construction sites, I personally believe no one knows about the geopolymer concrete as of today's date. But again, people are more prone to use self-compacting concrete, even high performance concrete, than geopolymer concrete. So like with this, I want to say thank you for all the audience to listen to me very quiet. I don't know whether it's helpful or not, but I expect it will give you at least glimpse of this idea about geopolymer concrete. Even if you have further questions, you can ask me. I will try to answer. But if it is not possible now, you can write mail to me in this mail ID. I will definitely revert back you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for this wonderful presentation. Now I would like to request our participants, if you have any query, please feel free to ask. Our honorable speaker will definitely try to answer the questions. Yes, participants, do you have any query?
I think it's a lot of messages are there. I don't know whether they are asking any questions or they are just simply messaging me. But anyway, if anyone is having question, I'll be very happy. At least I will feel like that you have listened or you have understand completely. Those two things can happen. You have understand completely or you haven't listened anything.
Actually, the present session was very informative, but sir, there are some questions already in the on the chat box.
Mm-hmm.
The first question is, what is the use of lean concrete?
See, lean concrete concept is entirely different than geopolymer concrete. Lean concrete is again, I am not there. I don't have that much knowledgeable about this lean concrete, but for the lean concrete concept, it is very difficult to use this geopolymer concrete. But again, we can do some research how to make the geopolymer concrete to use as a lean concrete construction.
Okay, second question is how can the pH value of geopolymer concrete be determined in laboratory?
It's a very easy. See, usually we prefer to have high pH value within the concrete, but as we are using the alkaline solution to produce the geopolymer concrete, so it will be having better, like you can say, better high alkaline pH value. Again, what we can do, we can cast the cube. We can cure it for ambient temperature for 28 days. We can break the cube in the center. From the core, we can create, like, take samples, and we can go to the environmental laboratory. We can determine the pH value by preparing the standard solution, mixing these concrete particles with the distilled water, preparing the standard solution. Then we can determine the pH.
So next question is, can we use geopolymer concrete in precast construction?
Yeah, that is like as of present days, that is only the feasible solution we can use, and it will give a better result and better durable product in precast concrete. Just because to casting the precast section, we can train the workers or even engineers, even we can train ourselves how to handle the chemicals and how fast we need to do casting and all. So it is very much helpful to use in precast concrete construction.
Sir, next question is how much cost effective is geopolymer concrete?
Yes, that is now again debatable questions, very good questions. We need to do research, just because as soon as the demands of the alkaline solutions are getting increased, that industry people are increasing the price of this alkaline liquid. But as of today, fly ash is available almost zero cost, like its cost is almost zero. So I feel it will be marginal lower than OPC concrete, but if we can control the price hike of the chemicals, it will be definitely cheaper than OPC concrete. But again, I am telling you, we can use this laboratory, instead of laboratory grade silicate solution, we can use industry waste silicate solution. With the determination of the like ingredients in the silicate solution, what are the other components are there. But if we use the laboratory grade of solutions, it may become a little costly, but as of today, it will be cheaper as soon as fly ash is getting like zero cost material.
Sir, what is green concrete is the next question.
Green concrete, you can, like always people used to talk about the concrete towards sustainability. If you know the like concept of green or sustainability, we have to fulfill the basic demand of three pillars, like social, economic, and environmental. If you fulfill all the like criteria about these three pillars, like if it is becoming economic, and if it is like helpful to protect our environment from pollution, even we can protect our natural resources for the future generation, then we can say it's a sustainable construction material and it's moving towards the green concept.
Okay, so next question, Mr. V.R. Senthil Kumar has asked on the chat box. He has asked that any research is going on geopolymer concrete using materials like 1:2:4, -1 slag, -2 fly ash, -4 sand, and coarse aggregate.
Yeah, I hope it is there, but as of now, I cannot give you the literature or the PDF, but you can contact me later. I can give you some literature on that people are using, just because of, if you see in the state of Kerala, they are using only M sand as fine aggregate. So all the research on geopolymer concrete, mostly they are using M sand as fine aggregate. So again, I will try to get some literature about that, and I'll forward you.
The next question is it possible to make geopolymer self-filling concrete?
Uh, it's a wonderful idea. Whoever has given this idea, I really want to thank you to give me an idea to extend my research. I will try definitely in lab. Till now, I don't have any idea, but I will try it definitely.
So next question is, what is the relation between concentration of alkaline activator
Mhm.
on geopolymer concrete?
See, the concentration of alkaline activators is only for the particular part of this alkaline liquid, and geopolymer concrete is a solid. It's a mixed up with the source material, fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, and the alkaline liquid. So this concentration only towards to the alkaline solutions. So to prepare the alkaline solution, I have shown you that sodium hydroxide solution concentration varied from 6 to 16 molar, and then we have varied the total ratio of the silicate to hydroxide solution. So based on that, we have prepared the solution. If you go at least one or two literature, you will understand better about this. I cannot say that this is not related to geopolymer concrete, but geopolymer concrete is the ultimate product with the source material, with fine aggregate, coarse aggregate. But only concentration is only related to the alkaline liquid.
The next question is, after demolition of geopolymer concrete, is it possible to recycle it and use it again?
Yeah, obviously. But again, we have to check the properties. It can be used.
The next question we have, can we use geopolymer in dock and harbor structure where action of salt water is present?
Yes, as of present this research scenario, it is like exhibiting better properties, durability properties, like it performs better than aggressive environments. So I personally feel it can be used. But again, we have to provide beta like 28 days, at least 28 days air curing. I will suggest if you want to have a better, then heat curing already it is established that heat curing will give you better strength and better compacted concrete section. So we can use that also. But again, if we have time in our hand, we can go for air curing also.
The next question is, what is geopolymer binder?
Yes, geopolymer binder is nothing like it's a if I consider like assume the source material is only fly ash and alkaline solution. If we mix it, it's if you compare with the OPC cement and water. If we mix cement and water, we will get the paste. Here also, if we use the fly ash and GGBA, fly ash and alkaline solution, we will get the paste. So that cement paste is itself binding the aggregates to provide the strength in concrete. Here, this paste will binding the aggregates and will provide the strength.
Then next question we have, what is the setting time of geopolymer concrete?
I have shown in my presentation several graphs plots I have shown about the setting time. For fly ash based geopolymer concrete, it may take much more time, but for GGBS based geopolymer concrete, it is taking very less time. But what we did actually, as fly ash is cheaper than GGBS, we just incorporated 10 to 20% GGBS in the fly ash based geopolymer, and it is like reducing its high setting time. So you can expect like within the range of the whatever IS standard is like specified already in this different standard, we can get into it in that range.
Okay. Sir, next question is, why this happens with geopolymer concrete when I am replacing fine aggregates with slag?
Fine aggregate with slag.
Yes.
These things, what I will suggest before using any material for the replacement. Suppose here questions are there like you want to use slag as the replacement of fine aggregate, but before using for a material as a replacement of another material, it should have a similar kind of characteristics or properties. Basic main thing you can say particle size itself. You can use, if you use slag at the replacement of the fine aggregates, it will like as of the chemical reaction we have observed in the laboratory, it will show you a better compressive strength. Just because of slag also will take part in the chemical reaction, then I cannot say as it is fine aggregate. Usually in concrete, aggregates are considered as inert material, but here at least slag also is getting participated in the reaction part, so we cannot say as the inert material.
Okay, sir, the next question is how can we control the diffusion process in transformation of geopolymer concrete?
Sorry, I did not get you. Tell me again, please.
Question is how can we control the diffusion process in transformation of geopolymer concrete?
So this process, I think it is depend on temperature. If we control the temperature and humidity in the laboratory scale, it is possible, but in real scale, it's a very difficult to control. If we can control this environmental aspect, temperature, humidity, I think it can be controlled.
So next question, what are the limitations of geopolymer concrete?
Yes, presently there is no standard, no guideline. So it's like all based on their own assumption. People are doing research and they are coming with some conclusion. If we combine all the works and like conclusions, we can get some glimpse how to proceed. But at the end, to convince the common people, we need to have established proper guidelines to be used, and more importantly, I can say the utilization of the chemicals are the most important hurdle to be used in concrete, just because we need to be very careful, and safety wise also it's a very difficult. If people are very careless, it may create like accidents.
The next question is how much safety factor is used in geopolymer concrete?
Factor of safety, see, it is used in the design of any concrete section purpose, but as of from the point of view of material, I don't think so. No factor of safety are using to design the concrete compressive strength. And you can say if we are using, we can design the concrete mix based on IS 10262. We can always we have this factor of safety, lot of factors to you accommodate the different uncertainty circumstances available in sites. All those we can adopt for the geopolymer concrete itself.
So the next question is there any relationship between initial setting time of OPC and setting time of ordinary concrete?
OPC itself is the ordinary concrete, but as of now, there is if I understand, the audience wants to all know that whether is there any relation between OPC and geopolymer setting time. See, these both are different kind of concretes. It's a very difficult to say now, but again, if we have, we can study statistically about our observation, we may get some relation. But as of now, I don't have any like framed relation with the OPC setting time and the geopolymer setting time.
Okay, so there is the last question we'll take up, that is which admixture is suitable to get proper workability and retention for GGBS based geopolymer concrete?
Yes, that's a very wonderful question, just because GGBS based geopolymer concrete always sets very hard. When we are going to use any chemical admixture, we have to very careful, but so many geopolymer like chemical, like if you get this locally available, whatever the chemical companies are providing, that mixture we can use, but again before using we have to try some trial and error to fix the optimum doses. To know how it will react or how it will show that workability or flowability, whether segregation is happening or bleeding is happening, we have to see. But I personally believe if you use chemical admixture like specifically super plasticizer, it may make you flowable, but for GGBS based geopolymer, it is very difficult to have bleeding. So again, now we have to do some experimental work in the laboratory to find out the optimum doses of the chemical admixtures.
Sir, one more last question, actually from participant.
Yes.
Is there any disadvantage in self-healing concrete?
Disadvantage is there, like it's a very difficult to incorporate this bacteria. in a large scale. And maybe the cost wise also it may not come the cost effective, just because of cultivating the bacteria it will be the costly, maintaining culturing the bacteria also will be a very difficult task. For a civil engineer it will be very difficult to control all such things. Then again we have to take the help from the chemistry department or chemical department or biotechnology department. So it may not give you like cost effective material, but in large scale also implementing this is a very difficult problem.
Sir, I would like to request you to answer one more.
Yeah, I
Sir,
am
can we?
I'm literally very happy that people have so many questions. So
Yes, sir. Can we use the geopolymer concrete in underwater construction?
yes, we can use.
Uh, and sir, one more question. Why bacterial concrete is also called self-healing concrete?
It's just because of like it's whatever the chemical substance they are producing to fill the cracks. It is like without like interfering from the outside agents or outside people. It is happening inside the concrete itself by its own. That's why it is called self-healing. No other
Uh,
processes we have to like incorporate to fill the cracks. It is reacting with the products CSH like hydrated products, and it is filling the cracks by its own.
Sir, thank you.
Now
Sir,
again, I
one more
am seeing
question
so
has
many questions
come,
are
sir.
there, but if we take questions like that, I think
Uh,
it will be 10 o'clock.
it will be
If
very
any
difficult
have,
to end this session
yeah,
if
that's
we
why.
miss
If you
actually.
have any question, please write to
Uh,
me. Yeah, we
Participants,
can
if you
write
have any more questions, please, Sir has already shared his personal email ID. So you can email your queries to him. He will definitely will help you
I'll
regarding your
revert
query.
back. No problem.
Obviously, he will revert back you.
I'll be very
Uh,
happy to listen from you people.
Yes, sir, is very cooperative as you can listen. Sir, thank you again for this wonderful presentation, and we hope to have the opportunity to listen from you soon again. And we hope that all of the participants have found this session very informative. We are very thankful to all the participants present here for their active participation and their patience and cooperation throughout the webinar session. And I would like to conclude here by again thanking Professor Saha, who has honored us by presenting this wonderful webinar. And now I would like to request Principal Sir again for the closing speech to end this webinar session. And before that, I would like to share I'll now share the feedback or attendance link on the chat box. Please fill up the same by clicking the link provided over there, and you will receive the e-certificate within 7 working days in your email ID, which you will provide in the attendance or feedback form. Thank you all again, and thank you, Professor, once more. And
Yes,
now,
you are
Principal
most
Sir,
welcome.
thank you, sir. And now, Principal Sir, please, please say some words.
Yeah.
Now, after that, we'll end this session. Thank you all again, and good night.
Before concluding remarks from the principal, sir, Professor Sudipta Das, I will convey my regards, my thank to all the audience, specifically all the students. You people are amazing without any disturbance. You have listened to me. I hope it will help you in your future coming days, and I have given some, at least some knowledge, some input to in your mind. Again, I thank you. I thank you, Professor Sudipta, to give me opportunity to present my work, little work to your students. I hope we can work again together in future. Once again, thank you. It's over to you, Professor Sudipta.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Shah. Thank you so much. And as we know, we are at the end time of this session, and definitely I must include just one word for the whole session, because I have seen the feedback which are coming in the chat box continuously. So really, the topic being in the core domain of civil engineering, the participants surely will get benefited And through these kinds of webinar ideas or through these kinds of online interactions, and many talented opportunities will also come across who will get some proper guidance in their future, being a UG or PG students too. And the topic was really knowledgeable. The whole session was very much informative and knowledgeable. There is no doubt about that. And the best thing I found, it was a very interactive session. The participants were continuously asking their questions, and said you have given them answer to satisfy them. Even you have shared your personal contact number, contact IDs to them, so that in future few talented participants or audience may get proper platforms to continue their future or further works. So in short, I would like to say, on behalf of IMPS College of Engineering and Technology, I would really like to thank you that you have accepted our invitation and delivered such an informative, interactive, interesting, knowledgeable session on recent trends in concrete technology. We wholeheartedly thank you for spending your precious. It was really nice. It was really nice having you, and we will hope to build a long-term association with you, so that our students from IMPS CET will get some advanced level advice from your side for their betterment in their future career prospects.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words. But before winding up, I have one suggestion also, as so many questions are there.